Namaste, everyone. Welcome back to our Monday interview show. I am so excited to have Vaidya Jay back on our show. He is a repeat guest. He is my beloved Ayurvedic teacher. I have worked in the clinic with Vaidya Jay for some years. I've studied with him. He is our community go-to expert in all things Ayurvedic. He is an incredible Ayurvedic doctor and practitioner. And he also is the owner and formulator of the organic Ayurvedic herb brand, Atreya Herbs. So Vaidya Jay, thank you so much for being back here with us.
Thank you. I'm so excited, Kimberly. Well, I feel like every season you connect with me, and then we roll out these wisdom tips to all our listeners. I really look forward to these talks with you. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, Vaidya Jay, it's, the pleasure is mine. Speaking of cycles, speaking of periods, I started working with you before I was a mother. And
Yeah.
then I really, took your advice through my pregnancies, through my postpartum period, when I had my juice shop, Glow Bio, which then later went to the Four Seasons under Yukini. You came in and you taught an incredible fertility pregnancy postpartum
Yeah.
course. And you've also, we interviewed you for our upcoming holistic mama pregnancy course, which we will launch in the next little while. There's been so many launches, Vaidya Jay, including this last book, which came out some weeks ago called The Hidden Power of the Five Hearts, which is about the heart and the brain, this inner harmony and connection, which is really echoed throughout Ayurvedic teachings. And Vaidya Jay, the five hearts comes from Vedic teachings. It comes from Swami Sri Yukteswar's how he wrote about these five stages. It corresponds with the science, which is also what I love about Ayurveda. There's really this incredible Western science now is starting to study Ayurveda, and then also the spiritual teachings of Ayurveda, the energetic teachings, which I love. So all of that being said, today, here we are, October-ish, for some of you listening to this, and we're getting into, the real fall, going into winter. So I wanted to talk about Ayurvedic ways to create resilience against physical stress, sugar addictions, and other imbalances. This is a time, as you know, Vaidya Jay, where there's, a little bit more busyness, hurry energy, getting things done. The kids are back in school. There's projects to get done. I know at Soluna, we're, getting ready already for Black Friday sales. So we want to keep our bodies resilient. And of course, as you teach this, echoes into mental, emotional resilience. This is part of the heart work that I've been working on so much in myself with the heart coherence by Jay. But I'd love to talk about this from an Ayurvedic perspective, which is so much to say about rejuvenation and resilience and vitality.
Yeah. So, first of all, Kimberly, congratulations.
Thank
The
you.
hidden power of five hearts. Your heart is so big that you want to give out to greater good all the time. That's what I really appreciate in you. And, the Ayurveda is that part of, the intention of the consciousness is to bring in transformation among people to evolve themselves and make their heart full of love for others, and then
Mm,
of course live a long healthy life in this meaningful way. So
beautiful.
I'm glad that you came up with this wonderful book. um, this season, as you said, is also a wonderful season for the energy. I say this because it's not me, but the Vedic calendar reflects the 9 days of the goddess, the celebration of the goddess, right?
Yes.
Each day,
Navratri.
yeah, Navratris, right? The 9 nights of the goddess winning over the negative forces of the universe, right? Now, as the day becomes shorter, the nights become longer, so the dark becomes more abundant. So it's only the energy of the goddess and her creativity that brings us through this darkness, but not in terms of seclusion, but celebration. So
Mm.
yeah, that every day. Yes, go ahead.
And
You're saying something.
this inward time, Vaidya Jay, is a time where we can reflect, we can create more awareness, because otherwise we're still stuck in the same patterns. We're still sort of hurrying through. We're still stressed out. What I love about the goddess energy as well, and we have had some questions. I did a Q&A show on the divine feminine. I
Mm,
feel like the masculine in imbalance, right? This pushing my way, my opinion has to be right, has to get as much done as possible, really is the a root in so much disconnection, closing off the heart, creating
mm,
stress, and
mm,
this energy of, to your point, creativity, nurturing, care, quality, nature. This is so needed in today's world, and
mm.
we can learn about it and also implement it in some of these really practical Ayurvedic practices as well.
Yeah, the divine feminine, and there's no doubt, Kimberly, it's not just us speaking, but if you look from historical point of view, women are the longest living people on the earth.
Right,
Yeah. So
right.
that
It's true.
says a lot about why the masculine tries to push its way, because there's a lacuna in the masculine, and that's where we are trying to gain what we are lacking by egoistically protest. Sometimes it can be egoistic. So that's what is this constant struggle. That's why in the
Yeah.
Vedic system they said, when you're in dark, think about the divine mother, or
Mm.
the yeah. So the creativity comes in. So that's what you're saying. In this season, all that is happening is, pushing through, moving rapidly. Everything is coming to a folding, and the nature is going to be dormant. So move forward, do things. That's the energy that we are looking for in this season. um,
Yes.
and more than that, it is to gather ourselves in terms of our sensory organs, mind, intellect, and free them from any kind of hindrances that are going to happen during this season.
Mm.
What I mean by this is the reflection of the fall is to be seen as, yes, the stimulation that's going on in my eyes, in my tongue, in my nose, in my ears and skin, it's now going to become lesser and lesser as the season becomes, more of, fall and winter. So how do I
Yes.
de accelerate or decrease the sensory stimulation? That is the energy that we are dealing with. We have so much of outgoing
Yes.
energy. Now we need to bring it in.
Yes, and I'd also like to add to that, Vaidya Jay, when we're talking about prescriptive practices, we have thousands of people in the community right now that are also going through this heart journey. We're teaching the 4-week heart reset. There's people that are reading the book. And so I'm starting to see a lot of questions about when there's an internal shift. Let's say we're starting to awaken our hearts, we're starting to create this coherence, this lining up with heart and brain. It's happening on different levels. So we're starting to learn tools, we're starting to look at our patterns. What are herbs and foods? It's almost like, and I feel it in myself, IJJ, I've been on this heart journey for a few years, and there's moments where there's these quantum leaps where it's like, whoa, I see this old pattern and now I feel expansive and I'm letting go of limitations. So it's almost like rejuvenating, but there also feels like a different type of detox.
Mhm,
Vaidya Jay, let's say we're,
mhm.
we're moving through layers emotionally and mentally, we're ready to let go of patterns. What are some of the herbs, as being such a profound herbal expert, or foods? You always say, herbs are foods and foods are herbs and medicines that we can use, especially now, and particularly for those of us that are on this heart awakening journey.
Yeah, yeah. So you're right when you said the question of the sugar. Um, it is at the core of this 9 days of celebration.
Ah,
Yeah, sugar is a powerful transformer, right? Yes, it has got impact on our physical body, but Ayurveda and Vedic sciences look at it from a energetic, emotional, and psychological, even spiritual, transformer, right?
really?
Yeah, yeah. Sugar is so important. That's the best
It gets
substance.
such a bad rap in the West. It's like no sugar, sugar free, sugar addictions, sugar imbalance, inflammation. So this is so interesting to hear a balance or a different perspective in balance used judiciously, intentionally.
Yeah, yeah. So sugar is a transformer. It is like a double-edged sword. If you are using it in a state of positivity, it enhances your positiveness. If you
Really?
use it on the contrary towards a negativity, then it will bring you really deep into your negative forces or negative states, right? So that's the reason why sugar has to be, like, let's say any celebration in the cultures, the world cultures, it always starts with something that's sweet, right? So that means
Mm,
a transformation and bringing people together, bringing the hearts together, bringing the consciousness together comes from sweet, right? Sweet
could
is
it even
also,
come from fruit, Vaidya Jay? Like fruit, if someone's listening to this and they're like, well, I don't want cookies or sugary treats, could they also benefit from whole fruits?
yeah. Sweet is a big range. I call it as a
Right,
sugar spectrum, right? A sugar spectrum, your rice is also a sweet substance.
right.
Honey is also sweet. Molasses or jaggery is also sweet. White crystalline sugar is also sweet. But they all have different layers of um, shift or change in our mind emotional states, right?
So
So
let's say we are going through a big shift, like you're awakening your heart. How would you, can you describe to us exactly how you would use the sweet taste, not in excess, not where it's going to imbalance your gut microbiome, but where you can support into getting to a new level
so
physically?
yeah, the best examples of good sugars or good sweets that we use as offering, let's see, this has been offered for thousands and thousands of years, or honey, a
Oh,
raw
yes.
honey,
Love it.
right? Sometimes people are like, let's say our big population here is vegan, we don't want to do much of the honey, right? So
Well, I would say I'm a vegan. I'll have to say this, Vaidya Jay. We have our own bees in Hawaii. We treat them ethically. So I will say, as someone who's otherwise plant based, I do consume raw honey. It's
yeah,
everyone's personal choice, but the bees aren't harmed in the way that um, there's certain ways to ethically source the
yeah,
honey, is what I'm saying as well.
absolutely. So honey has been used for so many, year, like millennia we've been using honey, right? So honey, if you look at honey, the quantity that you need for satisfying your sweetness is probably a teaspoon. If you take a teaspoon of
Right.
honey, it just hits you at the place where you feel I'm satisfied. One, two, I'm also uplifted. Honey has that ability to uplift you. Right? Second thing,
Beautiful.
after honey comes something like fruit based, but all these fruit based sugars are seasonal. So when we offer fruits to the divine mother in this season, we choose fruits that are growing in this season, like we have now pomegranates that are great in this season. We have got some persimmons that are in season. Jujubes are in this season. Like basically, when I
Yeah.
this Saturday when I went to farmers markets, I do have some flower fruiting trees, but when I went to farmers market, I looked at what is in season. So I pick those fruits that are best suited for me, and they are sweet but not sugar, driving high, but just enough to satisfy my sugar balance, to make my mind, emotions, and spirit to come in alignment. When that happens, your heart fills with gratification, and that heart is the one which makes you grow spiritually and consciously.
So beautiful, Vaidya Jay. So as a practice, we can say for this period, for the next few weeks. I know Navratri is 9 nights, but if we're in a period which is individual, of course, it could be a month, 2 months, a few weeks, to intentionally choose quality sweets, whether it's an elixir or an herbal tea, mixing a little bit of honey, which is something I do every evening with my older
Mhm.
son, by the way,
Mhm.
when we're
Mhm.
doing homework together, and also having fruit, maybe changing up the fruit that you put in your glowing green smoothie as a practice. But this is an important energy because sometimes we think of fruit mainly in the summer, for some. And unfortunately, there's factions of our culture, by Jays, which don't have any fruit at all because
Mhm.
they are
Mhm.
trying to avoid all sugars.
Mhm.
And you see imbalances. You see some, you know, just sort of
Yeah,
emotional imbalances that can happen because we're not getting the 6 Ayurvedic tastes in.
yeah,
It's another
yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, no, you're right. People are um, fearful of consuming sugar because it's not only disturbing their digestion, it brings in a intense fear, a sense of fear in them. So it's a sense of fear when I say it's the what happens if I take sugar, and they have created a story for themselves that if I take sugar or sweet or carbs, it'll make me feel foggy, or somewhat not in my own element, right? So that's why
Right.
people are afraid of taking any of the carbs or sugars. But what we need to recognize is, we have abused the sugar. Let me tell
Yes.
you, when I say abuse the sugar, my son grew up here, and if I compare my childhood days to his childhood days, in
Yeah.
my school where I grew up in very rural parts of India. There was never a bowl of chocolate or cookies or anything at the front of the school. Nobody, no
Right.
parent. And second thing is, no parent was bringing chocolates to the school for its birthday celebration. It was just not possible for me to eat every day one candy or one cookie. It was impossible
Yeah.
because one, people
Low
could not
low
afford it.
quality sugars. Yeah.
People could not afford it. Second, people would think it's inappropriate to bring chocolates and sugar to the school. What I look at my
Right.
son, on the contrary, every day you complete a homework, you have a chocolate. If he goes to,
Oh my God.
like, what are we doing? Our body is now saying the relation to that sweetness is not a peaceful, loving, and satisfying, but it is like needy, excessive, and somewhat addictive, right? So every time I'm happy, I relate to having some sugar. I get good grade,
Right.
my teacher gives me candy, and I eat it. Okay, that means if I'm feeling good, I should have sugar in my body. That's where the relation changes,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
there is no people should not feel, okay, oh my gosh, I brought myself to this place now. How do I? There is hope. The hope is this: you have to redefine your relation to anything that is sugar or carbohydrate, or even anything that is like a fruit. If you are afraid of it, then you need to work in reteaching your body. It's like unlearning what you have
Yes.
learned and then coming back to resetting it. I'll give you a very simple
Yes.
example, Kimberly. If anybody who is having this kind of relation issues to the carbs or sugars, you take brown rice and then you cook it soft, and you need just a small bowl full of it, and then you add cinnamon and rice.
Mm,
2 tablespoons of cinnamon rice. Rest of the food is whatever you're eating. You can eat your vegetables, your lentils, your squashes, quinoa, doesn't matter. The first 2 tablespoons of your meal needs to be this brown rice, freshly cooked brown rice, and a little bit of cinnamon on it. Try that out, because cinnamon is one of the best spices to open the metabolic pathways for sugar metabolism.
mm,
And
beautiful.
end with end with a little bit of something that is sweet again. Maybe you can take a small teaspoon of honey. End your meal with honey. Start with,
Beautiful.
yeah. So these two processes will start shifting the mind and body relation to the sugar, because the number
Beautiful.
of studies now that are come out, even in the scientific journals, which say there is very close response in the brain neurochemistry to that of substances that are addictive to that of sugar. Sugar does
Yeah.
exactly the same shift in the brain, because we have trained our brain to do it. I'm happy, I need to eat something sweet, right? I'm sad, I need to eat something sweet. So we tie up our emotions with the sugar. That's the mistake.
Beautiful, Vaidya Jay. I love that very practical way of resetting and then using the sugar to, continue support us through heart awakening, through these shifts in the fall. Can we talk about some other herbs or foods that people can also use in this context to feel that resilience growing, right? With the heart, when you get steady in your heart, as you know, Vaidya Jay, just become more resilient against things having to be a certain way, life having to work out exactly, hurry, energy. And so, how can we fortify this resilience with some of your amazing herbal recommendations,
Yeah.
food recommendations?
Yeah. So when we talk about the sweets or sugar, we also definitely, you will agree with this, the gut biome and the microbiome, right? Ayurveda says that if the sugar is taken in excess, then it will not break down, but it will ferment. There's a big difference between metabolizing sugar
Yes,
to that of fermenting the sugar. When things ferment in the gut,
yes.
the signaling, the gut signaling, the what we call as gut brain axis is shifted. That's where people are afraid of eating sugar, because once they eat it, there's wrong signaling that goes into the brain, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
besides the yes. Besides the sugar, though, Vitamin J, can we just switch completely to herbs and foods for resilience,
Okay.
right? Like we're talking about just helping the body fortify, feel strong, support and heart awakening.
Yeah. So in that, I was telling about trifla, amalaki. I know that you have amalaki in your greens. Amalaki,
Yes, love
yes,
it.
is a thing, a herb that is seen in Ayurveda as something that balances the gut, heart, brain. Gut,
Mm,
heart, which is the seat of mind according to Ayurveda, brain, the
beautiful.
seat of intellect and memory and willpower. So all three are connected by Amalaki. So either you take Trifla or you take Amalaki. Second thing, in
Beautiful.
terms of spices we are talking about, I would say fenugreek is another wonderful spice that is good for balancing out the response of the gut to the sugar metabolism or sweet metabolism. Third, to bring in resilience, the spices that are very commonly used will be the tea that is made from cumin, cardamom, fennel, turmeric, and then, yeah, your coriander. So we call it as CCCFT. So
Wow.
cumin, coriander, fennel, cardamom, turmeric. So
Is that
if
something you
our
recommend drinking in the evening? or in the morning?
Doesn't matter. Either morning and the evening is fine. Sometimes it can be with the meals. Like if I know I'm not going to be really working well with this type of a meal, then I would bring this mixture, have it in a thermos, and I'm done with eating. I want to drink this down so that my gut is completely settled and it will not react abnormally. And then it releases enormous amount of energy because the metabolic process increases significantly.
Wow. Is this something that you would recommend, Vaidya Jay, maybe adding the honey to get this? For some, it may
You-
feel a little earthy if we're not used to ingesting some of these herbs in a tea form.
Yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. Honey is a good agent to add. And these spices are aromatic. They can be consumed as is. Sometimes even people add a sweetener that is not sugary, like licorice. Licorice is not sweet based, but it's still sweet. So that can be used. So all of these can be good agents for helping the sugar metabolism and energy release.
You know, Vaidya Jay, I've just been called to a practice to support. There's so much energetic, awakening and expansion in my heart. As you're describing this tea, it almost feels like, these practices and rituals we can create for ourselves. 9 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, drinking this every evening. What do you think about doing that type of practice with a tea like this? If you're moving
Absolutely.
through something.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe 3 week program of drinking these five spices can be, tremendously transforming, not only for seasonal change that's happening, but also for, the process of opening the heart or shifting the mind, shifting the emotions. Each of these spices, if you look at their studies, each of these spices have significant impact on circulation, on respiration, cellular, rejuvenation, so inflammation, all these. Another, going
Beautiful.
back to a point when people are also afraid if they eat too much of anything that is sweet, their inflammation is going to go up. So that's not true, because if you have your metabolic pathways correct, then it will not feed the inflammation, it will feed your metabolism. So that's where the shift is. I think
Yes.
you should, yeah. Mhm.
Is that a tea blend that you offer at Atreya Herbs by
Yes,
JJ?
yes, we do have that. It's called CCCFT, coriander, cumin, cardamom, fennel.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you can definitely get that from Atraya,
And
or
so it's the
you
right
can get it yourself.
ratios. Beautiful, by JJ. Well, I'll be sure to get some as well. It feels like something I'm really drawn to. I like these elixir just these periods where sometimes there's something that you drink with intention. Maybe you say a prayer first, or you're going through something. Um, the 9 days of the goddess. Just I love these rituals that is a really big part of Ayurveda, and these practices, the morning practice, the repetition. It builds an
Mhm,
energetic
mhm, mhm.
resilience that alone in the
Yes,
body.
yes. Yeah, there are practices that, if you ask my wife, she knows what goddess is this day. Yes, today is the goddess of prosperity. So the goddess of prosperity is becoming manifested, and you need to make a special kind of a dish for it, and then every member of the family eats it with a blessing. So that's how it is done. Now, if you also want to add, people who are curious, okay, I don't have a real spiritual practice, what should I do in terms of increasing my spiritual energy at this time of the year? I would say tulsi, is holy basil, is very commonly
Mm.
available. This is a good season to take some tulsi tea. They can also do teas that are made from flowers, like chrysanthemum or chamomile, rose petal tea, honeysuckle tea. These teas are also very heart opening. That's what we call them. They used to drink lotus tea, but it's hard to get lotus tea nowadays. But other flowering teas are good. Yeah.
Would you say all flowering teas are great for heart awakening? Sometimes we hear a lot about rose extracts, rose teas, but other ones as well.
Yeah, yeah, all flowers. That's why flower is offered to an altar, because it represents our open heart, ready to open and
Yes.
spread the fragrance of goodness and love to others. That's what the flower represents. So you offer it. So same thing, when you drink it, it opens your heart.
Wow. Does Ayurveda also believe in edible flowers, or is that not
Yes,
so common?
there are edible flowers. Yes, we believe in edible flowers, but edible flowers were done in near around spring season. So now that they are dry
Ah,
flowers, they come in the fall season.
okay. What about ginger right now, Vaidya Jay? Either dry ginger or fresh ginger, which is
Both
something I
are
also
great.
feel called to. Yeah,
Yeah, both are
there's
great in the
immunity
season.
and also just movement. Yeah.
Yeah. So the cold, which is now going to surround us, is going to make our peripheral circulation to go down. So everybody feels a little cold in their hands and feet, especially if you're anxious and nervous. Then it becomes even more, cold. So ginger is a perfect spice that has the ability to open the peripheral blood flow, and that makes, when the peripheral flow increases, anxiety comes down, because your blood is not
Mm.
gushing towards your organs, but rather spreading evenly to all parts of your body. So ginger is a spice that can be combined with the cinnamon, and cinnamon and ginger will do exactly the same. Now, you said about dry and wet. So dry is a little heating compared to the wet one. You can, look at, do I need really something that's making me feel more hotter, more warmer? Then you can go for dry ginger. The way I use it is, when I make my oatmeal, I'll use ginger powder on it when I'm cooking, so that the
Mm.
yeah, ginger helps to make the oatmeal flavorful, but also it spreads the heat all over the body even.
Amazing, Vaidya Jay. You always have so much knowledge and wisdom and such a deep connection with the plants, with the herbs, with the all the practices. I could talk to you always, and I really appreciate you coming on repeatedly. And there's always a new inspiration. I feel really inspired for the CCCFT. Am I saying it right? It's
Yes,
cumin,
CCCFT.
coriander. It's wait, say it
Cardamom,
one more time, Vaidya Jay. Cumin,
cinnamon,
coriander,
sorry, cumin,
cinnamon,
coriander,
fennel,
cardamom,
cardamom, fennel, turmeric.
turmeric.
Beautiful. Well, I also want to say that one of the things I learned from you in taking your classes, there's so many, there's all these ways that people can trendy things, people can combine things and do whatever they want. And this is, the ethos of Saluna as well: care,
Mm,
intention, knowledge, how you
mm,
combine things. Like you said, our glowing greens powder, our 7 plants combined with so much love and care and quality. And I know you also practice that at Atreya Herbs.
mm,
One of the things that I always remember when you talked about sourcing herbs, the potency, and how traditionally these Ayurvedic doctors would go into the mountains and into the forest and with intention and care, not just, in a commercial way or
mhm.
just a heartless way, but really connecting with the plants. And there's a different energy that comes through in these formulas and in the ways in which any sort of formulation is combined and how it interacts in your body. The energy is definitely felt and received differently.
That's true, because every intention is what manifests in the herb. So herbs are beings, and you
Yes.
can tell, you can infuse or intend them to carry your intention. So when somebody is taking a fruit or a bark, you have to ask the permission of the tree or the plant, saying, help this, person to become healthy or regain their state of health from the sickness, by being part of my intention. That's very vital to every Ayurvedic practice. And as you
It's so
said,
beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. One has to have that ability to communicate and be very aware, unconscious of what they are doing with these plants.
So beautiful, Vaidya Jay. Thank you again so much as being a constant source of wisdom and inspiration in our community. And I'm sure we'll do another show in some time to come. In the meantime, and we will link to all of this in the show notes, of course, but tell us where we can find out more about you, where we can connect with your work.
Thank you, Kimberly. So I practice in Long Beach. My practice is called Atreya Ayurvedic Integrative Health Center, and my herbal company is called Atreya Herbs. And you can find us online, atreyaherbs.com. And my Insta handle is 100 Years J. So anybody wants to, link on to the Insta, you can do that too. I do post some small things about herbs and diet, and so I hope that can be, of some benefit to people who are listening.
So beautiful. And if anybody is in the LA area, I've sent so many friends for so many different uh, conditions and goals to Vaidya Jay's clinic, which he mentioned is now in Long Beach. So I highly recommend, which can be worked in with, you can work with Vaidya Jay in conjunction with, more Western traditional treatments as well. I find that, Vaidya Jay's protocols are incredible. So thank you again, Vaidya Jay, so
Thank you,
much.
thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you, Kimberly.
everyone, for tuning in and being with us as always. Thursday, we will have our next Q&A show. Little reminder on our website, mysaluna.com. You'll get the transcripts, the show notes for today's show, the links, and also you can ask questions there for our Thursday shows. Reminder that if you haven't yet checked out the new book, The Hidden Power of the Five Hearts, it's available now wherever books are sold. And while you're on the website, please also check out our new Glowing Greens powder with the amalaki that Vaidya Jay mentioned. So sending you much love from our hearts to yours, and we'll see you back here in just a few days.
Thank you. Namaste to all of you.